I have to invite Mr. Nikos Gounaris, forestry consultant, Mount Athos Authority, to give a speech about management of the chestnut forest of Mount Athos and its enhancement in view of climate change.
So, before start my speech, I would like to ask excuse in advance because I'm not a very good English speaker, so excuse my pronunciation and my poor vocabulary, but still I will try my best. Okay. My speech has to do with chestnut management in Mount Athos under the context of climate change. Of course, this is interfered with a project that runs nowadays in Mount Athos and is funded by the European Union, and the name is Life STEM Athos, Strategic Environmental Management in Mount Athos. There are two project locations for this project. One is Mount Athos, of course, and the second one is Le Valant de Solan, a place near to Marseille in the region of Occitanie, where exists a convent named Monastery of Solan. The total budget of the project is about 5,700,000 euros, and the European Union contributing by in this amount by 55%. Also, there is a contribution from the Green Fund, which is a body of the Ministry of Environment in Greece. And the duration of the project is until the end of 2025, but still we would like to have a prolongation on this date for another 18 months. Project beneficiaries. Of course, as coordinating beneficiary is the Holy Community of Mount Athos and the monasteries in Mount Athos. And associated beneficiaries in this project is the Democritus University of Thrace, the School of Forestry, and of course the Monastery de Solan from France, and also like the Friends in Mount Athos, there is an association in France, Les Amis de Solan, the Friends of Solan. The project consists of 21 different actions, of which in the core of the project there are 10 actions, implementation actions, and I have highlighted with light blue the C actions, the actions for which I will make a mention in my speech today. Some details about the area description and the demography. Some of them have already said by Dr. Diamandis, but of course, let me tell it again. The total area is about 33,400 hectares. The topography is mountainous, semi-mountainous, and the altitude starts from the sea level and reaches to the crown of Athos, 2,033 meters. The forest cover, according to the measurement we've made during the action A1, which is the strategic management plan from Mount Athos, exceeds 93% of the total area. The coastline has length of about 180 kilometers, and the population starts to have a slight decline, and this is not good. Okay. And of course, you can see that the population density is 5.3 people per square kilometer, which is very, very low, of course. And this explains somehow the preservation that exists in the natural environment of Mount Athos. Of course, the territorial division of Mount Athos, there are 20 monasteries, 16 skets, and numerous cells and huts in the area. According to the protection status, there is the terrestrial habitat in Mount Athos, and in 2017, the Ministry of Environment, responding on the request not of Holy Community, but for the protection of the sea fauna and the bird species, created another two zones, two habitats for sea fauna and sea birds that embrace the terrestrial zone of Mount Athos. And let's make a focus on the terrestrial, terrestrial habitat of Mount Athos. In purple color, in the middle of the peninsula, you can see the extension of Castanea sativa habitat. It's about 7,000, it covers about 7,000 hectares. And the Mediterranean coniferous Pinus halepensis in the north, and of course, in light blue, you can see that there is a very, very tiny polygon that is the Pinus nigra habitat, which covers less than 0.01 of the total area of Mount Athos. And also, I would like to mention what the Holy Community and Mount Athos has done already for the environment. Because, okay, the Holy Community is a spiritual community, but still we can see in this list that the environmental activities and actions for the protection of the environment starts since 1948 with a Regulative Act on Agroforestry Security. Regarding it was a Regulative Act that has to do with forest fires and the protection from forest fires. And let's start from the action A1, which is the strategic management plan for Mount Athos. What's the goal? What we have done in this strategic management plan for Mount Athos through the project? We collect all the existing environmental data sets from the monastery areas. We compilate in a single, those data in a single digital database and created a baseline for future analysis. And we create a baseline for carbon dioxide sequestration in Mount Athos forests. And also, one goal of this strategic management plan is to assist the Holy Community of Mount Athos in keeping up-to-date environmental data and facilitating the decision-making in Mount Athos in the future perspective, of course. To give you an example of this type of the strategic management plan, this is not just a cartography. It's a database where you ask and receive results. For an instance, the vegetation layer analysis. Okay, we have more than 3,674 different vegetation polygons in this map. And we have about 744 old sampling points. And the average area of the polygon is 9.12 hectares, while the minimum polygon area is 7.8 square meters, and the maximum is 3,639 hectares. And of course, the entire area of Mount Athos is divided in 891 different forest stands. Also, from this strategic management plan, we received data in order to have collateral outcomes. This is an example. This is the geospatial analysis of the fire protection plan of Mount Athos that was based on the data derived from the strategic management plan. The plan is drafted through a sponsorship from NGO Aegeas, from which is a foundation of Thanasis Martinos, the former director of the Mount Athos. And let's dive in the concrete actions. Action C1, the management of chestnut Castanea sativa habitats. It's divided in 3 sub-actions. C1, extension of the rotation period in chestnut monocultures. This action is applied in 360 hectares. The clear cutting age is shifted from 20 to 25 years through introducing an intermediate 4th treatment, the 3rd thinning, and merging the 1st and the 2nd treatments during management. C1.2, reintroduction of the practice of selecting elite chestnut individuals for 2 rotation periods. The final lodging of the selected elite individuals happens at the age of 50-60 years in the 2nd stand clear cutting. And C1.3 is the enhancement actions in chestnut habitats in the area of Monastery of Solan. It's irrelevant to Mount Athos. Key elements. By these actions, carbon dioxide remains stored for higher periods in living standing trees. Forest soil remains uncovered 3.33 times per century instead of 4.5 times with the current applied management. Also, the merging of the 1st treatment, clearing, and the 2nd treatment, 1st thinning, maintains the overall number of the interventions in the chestnut stands during a rotation period stable, while exceeding the rotation period by 5 to 8 years. This is also a prerequisite because of the shortage of available human resources in forest lodging professions. So we have 0.18 treatments per year per stand instead of 0.13 treatments per year per stand in the improved method of management. So this is a decline in interventions by 28%. The stand age during clear cutting is limited to 50-60 years because of the high tendency of detaching between the annual rings in the chestnut trunk core wood, plocha. So here we can see an example of plocha. It's a tree trunk outside the Viron sawmill. In the right side, there is a forest about 30 years old in Dochiariou Monastery, and in the other side, in the other photo, you can see the treatment of the selection of elite individual trees for a second rotation period. This is comes from treatment in Pantokratos Monastery. And on the right side, there is the action in the Monastery of Solan, reintroduction of chestnut trees for fruits and nuts in the forest of the Monastery of Solan. Also, related to the chestnut is the action C2, which is enhancement of pure chestnut and oak stands. Main goal is to pursue a stable, healthy, and resilient ecosystem in the context of climate change adaptation through enhancing resistance against wildfires due to enrichment, resulting in a mosaic of non-continuous fuel beds, enriching the forest riparian buffers by targeted plantings along streams, and therefore increasing soil water retention and strengthening ecosystem resilience through preventing the root propagation of Phytophthora cambivora. Collateral goals, the enhancing the mixture of tree species in favor of flora and fauna, biodiversity, as different tree species create habitats for various species. And a second collateral goal is that forest production shifting in particular towards timber production for excellent quality of furniture and other construction elements coming from slow-growing tree species, such as wild cherry and walnut. And here you can see an example of species that exist already in chestnut stands. You can see fir trees that have not been logged during the clear cutting. And in the left side, you can see also a blooming cherry tree in the monastery of Kutlu Musiu. And in the right side, you can see a vigorous wild cherry tree inside a birch stand in Grigoriou Monastery. So why we would like to do all these actions and measures? Our main goal is to go toward a low-emission circular management model for Mount Athos, for the wood, I mean, because this is the final goal. We can see here a diagram of this circular management model of the Viron Monastery. The products are coming from the nearby forest and are transposed and transferred to the sawmill, which is nearby. And after manufacturing, we conclude in wooden products that are used from the monasteries, the renovation and refurbishing programs mainly. So, and all the residuals from this process are going back to the forest or finally back to the forest in many ways. So this low emission management starts not today, but monks always were pioneers in this low emission actions. Here you can see the old water-powered sawmill of St. Gregoriou Monastery, which is unique in Greece. So today it ceased operation since 2006, and it's very pity that we didn't find yet funding in order to make this operational again. It's very unique. It's very unique. And an example of low emissions circular management model is the Iveron Monastery, of course. Here you can see in this picture, in this image, you can see that all the facilities that are related to the processing of wood are around the monastery. Here you can see the sawmill complex, which consists of from sawmill, carpentry workshop, and the varnish and finishing chamber. Here you can see some photos from the sawmill of Iveron and the dust vacuum tower. And here are the primary, secondary showing machines. And here is the storage facilities and the drying kiln, which a key point in these photos is that aesthetic matters are always are of great importance, even though the interventions in the environment are laid outside the monastery's view and perimeter. So even if the dry kiln could be established outside, they have been camouflaged in order not to bother the view. So also here is the first and the second chamber of the carpentry workshop, and also the varnishing and the fine finishing procedures. Also, here is the carpentry team of Iveron Monastery. Some of those people have more than 40 years of experience. And key point in these photos, the retirement of all professionals engaged in chestnut processing stages creates a widening gap in knowledge that will be difficult to be bridged in the future. Some photos from the storage facilities also from Simonos Petra, outside the sawmill of the Simonos Petra, and in Iveron Monastery we can see intermediate products, board pallets, and of course rawly action chestnut timber for building frame constructions with maximum bridging length of 15 meters. Key point, the chestnut wood is of great economic value and is non-competing with other mass-productive wood or of broadleaves of coniferous species. Also, another key point, the chestnut wood is of superior mechanical properties and great natural resistance to rodent and insect attack. Exterior constructions made of rawly processed wood. Here you can see a narrow stream passage in Simonos Petra Monastery. Even the smallest pieces of chestnut wood are used in constructions. And a pergola made of small dimension poles in Simonos Petra. Even the exposed chestnut structures can last for decades without maintenance acts. Other examples of exterior construction by semi-processed wood. This is a kiosk from Simonos Petra. Key point, the presence of chestnut in Mount Athos has deeply influenced local architecture for the interior and exterior spaces. Also, in the left side, a bench made of sewing residuals of chestnut round wood in the Viron guest house balcony. Key point, chestnut use is a circular economy model in practice. Nothing goes for nothing. Some exteriors also from processed wood, well-processed wood, the Synodikon balcony in Viron Monastery, and of course, the guest house balcony of Viron Monastery. Key point, all the wooden pieces in this frame, in this picture, are made of local chestnut wood towards a low-carbon economy in practice. And other examples of final products, chestnut wood with special grains in Simonos Petra Monastery. And in the right side, old door with a pediment from the 19th century in Simonos Petra also. The chestnut wood products contribute to CO sequestration by containing carbon in well-preserved constructions for many decades or even centuries. Other examples from Simonos Petra. Key point, the chestnut forest in Mount Athos has deeply influenced the local architecture for interior and exterior spaces. Tables and seats. The abbot's dining table in the refectory room in Simonos Petra, and also a table set from Viron guest house. And ceilings and pediments. Also, you can see that the chestnut wood is suitable for many uses, even carvings. Of course, stairs and banisters, small furnitures, kitchenette and bookcases, parquets. So there is a great variety of products that can be made of chestnut wood. Another action which is related somehow with chestnut is action C6, development of sustainable agroforestry systems. On the right side, you can see an opening in a chestnut forest in Kutlumusio Monastery. Through this action, we introduced the cultivation of chestnuts for nuts and fruits in Mount Athos. So the action C6, the main goal is to enhance of a sustainable agriculture production model that promotes small-scale cultivation and preserve natural resources, especially the irrigation water, and respects the cultural cultural heritage. Key elements. Today, the forests Mount Athos cover 93% of the area, of the total area, while the anthropogenic activities habitat covers 4.10, of which 2.44% is agricultural land. This is much less than used to be in the past. According to the aerial image interpretation we made, in 1947, the agricultural land accounted for 6.92% of the Mount Athos area. So this primary analysis shows that there is room for the development of systems that enhance the alimentation self-sufficiency of Mount Athos, farm to fork EU policy, and chestnut cultivation for nuts and fruits can contribute toward this goal. Another crucial action is C9, the development of fuel and carbon stock models. The main goals: fuel models development aiming to assess wildfire behavior, and B, carbon stock models aiming to assess the potential of carbon sequestration in the whole project area. The goals are set to evaluate how the management practices of the project, of the actions C1 to C6, affect the biomass allocation and therefore have respectively created an altered wildfire behavior and carbon stock potential of the Lulus sector in Mount Athos. 57 sampling points that will be used for the development of the fuel and carbon stock models, which means one sampling plot, double plot, per 1,000 hectares will be established. Gathered sampling data will be analyzed and extrapolated across the entire project area. Also, they will be assessed in comparison with data extracted from the 744 old forest inventory points from the action A1. And finally, the action C10, development of a strategy of the dissemination of the project outputs. Action C10, the development of a strategy for the dissemination of the project outputs. Main goal: the action intends to develop a strategy for the dissemination of the project's outputs. It involves a series of in situ activities and targets to stakeholders who are interested to the management of forests with rich biodiversity and complex patterns of tree spread. The Holy Community of Mount Athos will organize 2 weekly seminars of 20 people each, who are coming from different disciplines, professions, and countries in Mount Athos. Experts from Duth and FOS and other institutions will teach, and site visits in areas where the sea actions have been taking place will be organized. Thank you very much for your patent. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Gounaris. It's a very strange subject for me, but very
Strange.
Okay. That's why, because I love this tree. Chestnut, I love the products of this tree. My wife likes the furniture created by and I like the honey.
I guess that for Holy Fathers is not strange at all.
I mean, it's for me.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm very happy that I learned so many things and how deep you are working on this subject and these forests. And forests that I love because I'm working on them and I really enjoy them.
Yes, you know, when the former director of Life Program in Brussels, Bruno Julien, visited once Mount Athos, have met the former higumen of Iviron Monastery, Vasilios Gondikakis. And he met him in the middle of the forest, suddenly. And he saw a full dusted monk descending from the forest and starting speaking to him in French. It was surprising for him. And as Bruno Julien was a former diplomat in France, he made a tricky question to Father Vasilios, to Higumen Vasilios. He asked him, why are you interested for the environment? You are a spiritual community. Why are you interested for the environmental projects? And then the answer of the Higumen was very sharp. Okay, but of course we are a spiritual community, but how can we salvage the spirit if we don't salvage the body in which inhabits, first of all? So it was amazing. Okay, thank you.
If there is any question? Okay, thank you very much.